What is up, guys? This is Freddy, and today we're back with a new video on Marvel Contest of Champions. So today Kabam has just announced Act 5 Chapter 4, which will be titled Cornerstone. Now there is a ton of information in this post, and I'm gonna just try to cut it down. I reread it like 3 times, 4 times just to get the most important things and not try to miss too much or anything at all. But if I do miss something, please leave it down in the comments below. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So this chapter will be live on December 13th, and just some introductory info that they gave us. The camera will be locked, similar to how they had it in Road to the Labyrinth and Labyrinth of Legends. So you're not going to be able to move the camera around like you would in other quests. And as always, there will be a Legends title run for Act 5. Now keep in mind that Act 5 needs to be 100% completed in order for you to get this Legends title. And this includes Chapter 1, 2, 3, as well as 4. But something important to note is that the Legends title, the Legends timer, will not start until you enter Chapter 4. So this means that you can actually work on clearing the other 3 chapters of Act 5 without worrying about starting the timer off. So if you haven't done Chapter 3, for example, you can finish that off and then do Chapter 4 for the Legends title. Another thing to note is that portals will be making an appearance in this chapter. Portals will give hints as to what paths they lead to, so they will have names to them. So for example, a portal titled Power will focus on the opponent's power meter, and some portals will lead into hybrid paths as well as leading into normal paths. So for example, a path can be called, and this is just for simplicity's sake, these are probably not the actual names that they're going to use, but for example, path can be called Power Gain or Energy Resistance, which means that this path will have either Power Gain or Energy Resistance buffs, but not both. Or they can be called Power Gain and Energy Resistance, meaning that this path will have both Power Gain and Energy Resistance. Now in terms of the bosses, each boss in Act 5 will have one unique buff to them, meaning we've never encountered the specific buffs themselves. However, we have encountered similar situations. For example, in that challenge that we had for the 6-star champions, each of those champions had unique buffs. So we've actually seen unique buffs before, but we haven't seen these specific ones that they're going to use in Chapter 4. Also note that all the bosses will be 6-star champions. However, the adrenaline mechanic will still not be enabled. Kabam is still trying to work it out and make it as balanced as possible, so it's not going to be active during Chapter 4. There will also be new buffs. So Vigor is the first buff that they list, and I rewrote all these buffs to the perspective of us and not the opponent, because the way they have it in the forums is they have it written out on the perspective of the opponent. So I try to do my best to rework around the buffs. So Vigor, the opponent regens 50% of the base health over 5 seconds every 30 seconds, and the timer resets in intervals of 25%. This buff means you'll want to bring champions who can deal a lot of damage to negate that regen, or champions that have damage over time, like Wolverine, even a Guillotine. I think if her regen reversal works, then I think she's going to be extremely valuable. The next buff is called Resistor. Now when the opponent is struck by a physical or energy attack, they gain a corresponding resistance buff, increasing resistance by 20%. So for example, if you hit someone and you're using a Doctor Strange who has energy attacks, they're going to gain an energy resistance, versus if you use, say, a Hulk who uses physical damage, they're going to get a physical resistance. And when energy resistance is gained, physical resistance is removed, and vice versa. So they're never going to have both, they're just going to have one or the other. So the counter for this is to bring champions who have a good balance between physical and energy attacks, or else it's going to be a really long fight. As I said before, Doctor Strange, who has all energy attacks, it's just going to be a nightmare using just Doctor Strange, since he has no physical hit. And in the same respect, Hulk, for example, has no energy attacks, he has all physical attacks, so it's just going to be stacking physical resistance on top of physical resistance, to the point where the fight is going to be extremely long. So you want to avoid that and have a good mixture of both types of attacks. So the next new buff is called Explosive Personality. And this is one of the most creative and most, I like this buff just by reading it, even though I know it's going to be a pain in the ass to fight against. But the opponent gains an armor up buff when you attack into them while they are blocking, and this increases their armor by 25%. Now here's where the really crazy stuff happens. Once the opponent reaches 5 stacks of armor up that are generated by Explosive Personality, the armor ups explode, removing 25% of the opponent's health. So that is just insane. But one thing to note here is that where they say 5 stacks of armor that are generated by Explosive Personality, I'm assuming that this means that it excludes armor up buffs gained by passive abilities. So someone like Civil Warrior, who gains a lot of armor up buffs, I don't think that it counts. It's going to be exclusive to the Explosive Personality armor buffs. So that is just, that's insane. And the counter for this is pretty obvious. It's just avoid hitting a blocked opponent. So this is where you really want to brush up on your intercepting skills and just avoid hitting a blocked opponent, because once they gain 5 stacks of armor up, it's going to be a huge dent to your health. So just watch out for that. The next buff that they have listed is Feats of Power, and this is pretty straightforward. When the opponent is above 1 bar of power, they gain a Fury buff. When the opponent has 2 bars of power, they gain a Precision buff. And when the opponent is at 3 bars of power, they gain Cruelty. And keep in mind that these buffs are very strong. The counter for this node, or this buff, I'm sorry, is going to be power control champions. So Visions, Magics, Psylocke if you know how to use Psylocke very well. Maybe even a Quake if you're an expert Quake user. And keep in mind these buffs do stack. So at 2 bars, the boss will have Fury and Precision, and at 3 bars, they will have Fury, Precision, and Cruelty. So just keep that in mind. So the next buff is called Rage. So for this one, the opponent has a damage cap of 2.5% of their max health. When this damage cap is reached, the opponent gains a Fury. Once the opponent gains 5 Furies, the opponent's attack become unblockable. And again, those Furies have to be gained by the Rage buff itself. So what you want to do here is avoid those hard hitters. So bring champions who have damage over time debuff. So Iceman, who can do his cold snaps and frostbite and all that stuff. Magic with her limbo. Just make sure that you don't have anyone who's going to be going over that 2.5 damage cap and just allowing the opponent to get 5 Fury buffs. Now keep in mind those Furies can be nullified to remove the opponent's unblockable state. Now of course they save the best for last. So for Biohazard, the opponent has a 20% chance to inflict bleed when struck, dealing 100% of the attack as direct damage over 7.5 seconds. And on top of that, if that wasn't bad enough, when you are blocking, the opponent has a 50% chance to inflict poison, dealing 100% of their attack as direct damage over 7.5 seconds. So again, intercept. This is what you want to do, just intercept. And next, Kabam included the power indexes for the champions per quest. So I'm just going to put that on the screen right now if you want to pause the video to just take a look at it. I'm not going to get really into it, but pretty tough champions as expected. And of course, we saved the best for last, the rewards for chapter 4 and act 5 completion and exploration, and I'm just going to put those up on the screen. I'm not even going to try to read these because there's just way too many zeros for me, and I really do not want to mess up anything. If you want to pause the video, go ahead. In short, these rewards look really good, just amazing, especially after we've been disappointed by previous completion and exploration rewards. I think Kabam has done a great job in including a lot of stuff here that can be valuable to us in our progression, and especially since 6-star champions are coming out. But good luck to any of you guys who are going for this. Please do comment down below what you guys think of this, what you guys are excited for. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, And with that said, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.